Nope. Hi there, everyone. Sorry about the delay there. It looks like there was some technical difficulties at the Hobilio's end. So hopefully everything's sorted now. If you could hear me, it'd be great if you could just put yes in the chat just to confirm that. Otherwise, I don't want to record this session for like half an hour and then realize that you couldn't hear me. So yeah, if anyone could just put yes in the chat, that would be fantastic. If not, I may need to look at my audio. Perfect. Yeah, great. Excellent. Thank you very much for the confirmation there. So for those that don't know Nomisma already, one of the most common points raised is that I've never heard of you before. Where have you come from? Now, the reality is Nomisma was founded in late 2014. So we have been around for almost or just over 7 years now. And for the majority of that time, we have been developing our product offering. Now, what we are and what we do is a cloud-based accounting suite for accountants and bookkeepers. And we actually do CRM, practice management, payroll, bookkeeping, and final accounts and self-assessments all in the cloud. And that's exactly what I want to show you today. So let's just jump straight into it since we had the slight delay, and I'll show you as much as I can as possible. But if you have any questions or queries throughout the session, then I do have a few colleagues in the chat that can answer them throughout, but also we can organize more in-depth one-to-one sessions if anyone has a need to go into more detail. But the first screen I'm going to show you here is actually our CRM. So we've designed this from bookkeepers and accountants perspective. And on the left menu here, we've got leads, quotes and contracts, onboarding, and clients. And that is the natural progression within any practice or any business. You generate your leads through marketing, i.e. Google ads or Facebook ads. Once you have that lead, you can then generate a quote and generate a contract, which would be your letter of engagement. And once the client e-signs that contract, or you can get them to manually sign it, then it goes into an onboarding workflow. So throughout the onboarding workflow, you'll be able to do an AML check on any contacts, and that'll be a digital check directly within the system itself. Generate a letter of professional clearance, submit your 648 or agent authorization, and then gather any compliance data you need, such as VAT details or payroll information. So if we jump into leads, you'll see here we've got a dashboard dedicated to this where we can see 3 leads have been generated. And if I go into list all, then here you can do bulk actions such as send email or send SMS. But the main feature is being able to drill down into that lead to see more details about them, and then go on to creating a quote. So by selecting create a quote, it will then take all of the information that you've gathered so far throughout the lead creation process, and you'll be able to select whether or not you'll be performing recurring services or ad hoc services. So ad hoc services are things like catch-up work. So if you take on a brand new client, you may need to do the first year catch-up from the previous year, or maybe even 2 or 3 years if they are really, really behind. But when you go to the select services pages, you would be able to select the services that you provide to this lead. And each of these services have a price behind them. So when you're having a conversation with your client or lead, you may be having a face-to-face one over Zoom or in the office. And you can go through this and you can ask them, so you're a limited company, you'll need year-end accounts, you'll need that, you need this, you need that. And you'll have more of a system to it rather than giving them a price out of thin air. So company year-end accounts, we can select that, go for company formation, management accounts, payroll, VAT returns, P11D, confirmation statement, and self-assessment. Oh, and we'll go for company tax return as well. So by selecting all of these services, then it will put together a quote in a PDF format. And then in the ad hoc services, we could just go for bookkeeping catch-up and company year-end accounts, and then select next. And as a result of selecting those services, the next page generates a list of pricing drivers. So every client will be different, And at this point, you can select which turnover they have, what VAT frequency will they be filing on, how many monthly bookkeeping transactions there are. And here, this all adds up to being able to apply the concept of value-based pricing easily. And you can actually customize this as well. You can create your own services and you can create your own pricing drivers. So if you do have your own way of pricing, you can adjust it to your needs. But we have done a lot of research on how accountants and bookkeepers are pricing at the moment. And we've even implemented that into every basic setup of the CRM. So it is ready to go out of the box. And then if we select next, this will then take me to the package quote page where I can see all of the packages on screen. So we've got the custom package that I've just created alongside premium, standard and light. And at this point, you can select which quotes you would like to include on the quote to the client. And then next. And then it allows you to review the bookkeeping catch-up work and the company year-end accounts work before going on to terms and conditions, which you can add manually within the setup section. And then the next step is that it produces a quote. So this quote will list the ongoing and recurring services, and you can see the two packages I've selected on the package quote page. You can actually see the crosses and the ticks to show exactly what services are included in each package. And this gives you the opportunity to upsell. Now, in this scenario, the premium package is cheaper than the custom package, even though it has more services. But that's because a high discount has been included. However, you can change that. And then one really important thing that we include in the quote section is actually a statement of facts as well. And we view this as really important because if you give your client a quote and they exceed the yearly turnover of 500K, you're going to want to go back to them because there's scope creep. And as a result of signing this quote, and this will be included in the letter of engagement as well, you can easily open that conversation and have it with the client. In addition to this, we're going one step further and we are connecting this to our bookkeeping profiles to pull through all of this detail. And then we'll highlight to you whenever a client has exceeded one of the pricing brackets or the pricing drivers that you've defined. And then you'll get a notification to say you need to give this client a new quote. And that's the direction we're going in order to completely remove scope creep. And that is coming very, very soon. Okay, so that's the quote. So if we now skip that and go to the contract, at this point, your client will be able to select which package they would like to go with. And then you can enter account number and sort code. The only reason I need to do that is because I have entered that they would be taking payment via direct debit. And Nomisma will generate a direct debit mandate there. So at this point, it will then generate the engagement letter, which you can customize to your professional body. So you would be able to select the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers within the setup section. And this is exactly how it would display the letter of engagement for you. Most of the fields in my example haven't been populated because I haven't gone through the setup process. However, you can complete the setup and then it will be a complete document. Okay, and here, this is where you'd be able to send it for e-signing. And we do have an e-signing integration with this as well. So once you're happy with that, you can send it or mark it as signed. If you go on and mark it as signed, it will then go into the onboarding process where, like I said, you can then do the 648 agent authorization, professional clearance letter, AML check, and then gather all of your compliance needs. Compliance information. And at the end of that onboarding process, it will then create a client and all of the individual contacts for that client. And it will also create the profiles in Nomisma for bookkeeping, payroll, year-end accounts, and self-assessment. However, we do recognize that you may not use Nomisma for all of your clients in terms of bookkeeping. You may use us for payroll, final accounts, and self-assessment, but not bookkeeping. So during the onboarding process, we do also have the option of selecting different software packages within the system, which will then be stored in a client profile. Let me see if I've got an example of that I can show you. Yeah, so if I go into ABC Limited and then go to compliance and deadlines and software, you can see here the bookkeeping software selected is 0, final counts Nomisma, and you'd be able to select exactly which software you use for that client. And then anytime any member of staff can go into the client, select compliance and deadlines, go to software and see exactly where that work's being done. There's more plans to come with that as we evolve as well. Okay, so moving on to the compliance side of Nomisma, this is where you can begin actioning and doing work, but also managing the practice in terms of assigning tasks to different members of staff and keeping track of deadlines. So this one page here is our main dashboard. All of your members of staff can log into this and access it. And along the top, we've got some KPIs based on bookkeeping transactions. So we've got the businesses without bank feeds. And if we drill down into that, we can then see a list of all of the businesses that have bank accounts in Nomisma, how many have active feeds, how many do not have feeds, and also how many unreconciled bank transactions there are. So at any time, I could drill down into that company, and then I can see the business level, which your client would also be able to log into. And you can go to unreconciled bank in order to see all of the unreconciled bank transactions. Okay, so I'll come back to that shortly. However, one of the other KPIs is also pending receipts. So your clients can download our bookkeeping mobile app and they can raise sales invoices on that. They can also see all of their key figures, such as their sales, their purchases, their bank balances. And something we are developing, well, we're trying to come up with a solution for, is being able to renew bank feeds through the mobile app so that your clients will receive a push notification, much like a Facebook notification, and then they'll be able to click that, renew the bank feed from their mobile phone without having to log into the web application. But the main feature on that mobile app is the ability to take pictures of receipts and then upload them directly into the Nomisma platform ready for bookkeeping. So here we can see we've got a list of all of our companies and how many unprocessed receipts there are for each of them. So we could drill down into Barney's Bowlerama and then go to pending receipts, and we can see the 7 receipts there. And at this point, you can go through the bookkeeping process where you can see the receipt on the right-hand side, and let's let that load. And you would then be able to search for a duplicate in the system. So let's go 1920, search. Now I can see there's 2 potential duplicates. However, no document has been uploaded to them. So at this point, if I decide that one of these are correct, you can upload the document to that line item and it will be stored in the expenditure section. But if I decide that I need to bookkeep it, you can select add new receipt manually. Or if you're not sure of what it is, you can actually send a query directly to the client, and that will attach the receipt to the email. And you can just say, hey, client, not entirely sure what this is. Please, can you help me out? And that makes that entire process really, really easy. But we can then move on to add the new receipt manually. And the description's automatically pulled through from the receipt because we have got some level of OCR technology in the system, and we're working on improving that further and further. And we can then select an expense type. Let's say the gross amount is 1920 and the VAT rate is standard. And I'm just going to change the bill number to 5999, so it's completely unique and I can find it afterwards. So we'll save that, go to expenditure, and then search the bill number. There you go. So I've got that line item in the system now. And on the right-hand side, I've got a PDF icon. And that shows me that a document has been uploaded to this. So when I select the document, then it will show me that on screen and I can see it at any time. In addition to that, that meets the requirements for digital record keeping in terms of MTD. and Nomisma is MTD ready for VAT returns, so you can submit VAT returns directly to HMRC through the system. Okay, so going back, the next KPI we've got is unreconciled bank transactions. So it's very similar to the businesses without bank feeds. However, if we click into that and then hide the zeros on unreconciled transactions, we can see all of the clients that have unreconciled transactions there. And this is where we're really thinking about internal processes for bookkeepers and how you can begin managing your practice more effectively by going directly to the work that needs to be done without thinking, oh, I'm not entirely sure what I need to do today. Or I know from my own experience working in practice, sometimes, well, the practice I worked within actually managed all of their workload through an Excel spreadsheet, which was managed by the director of the company. And as a result, nobody was really able to flourish and work effectively and manage their own workload. So that's where this design has come from. And going one step further, in the clients table here, we've got all of your clients grouped by entity type and service type. So if you wanted to see all of your sole traders that you're doing bookkeeping for, you can click that A, and then it will load a page of all of your sole traders. Likewise, if you wanted to see all of your sole traders you're doing final accounts for, you'd then be able to see them, and you can drill down into them as well, which will take you to the final accounts profile. And then on the right-hand side, we've got all of our deadlines. So this is where if I go into the 3 to 6 months, all of our self-assessments, this is where you can begin to see how you can assign different tasks to different members of staff, but also keep track of all of the work statuses. So I'll just let that load. Okay, and then at the bottom here, we can see a list of all of the self-assessments that are due by January, and we can see what accountant is working on them. So at this point, you can change the member of staff to a different one within the practice, as well as update the work status. And we do actually have a top level view of this, which is much, it's a little bit more detailed because we've got some self-assessment KPIs in relation to self-assessments. And then at the bottom here, we've got a table full of all of our staff on the left-hand side, and then task statuses along the top. So you can quickly see exactly how many tax returns have not been allocated to a member of staff, as well as what stage they're in. So if I wanted to drill down into the one that's in progress, I can click that one. We've got that system throughout the whole of Nomisma because it is really, really user-friendly. But also we've built workflows into this. So to give you an example, I've got 1 or 2 tax returns in not started. So if we go up to send tax questionnaire, you would then be able to send it to the 2 clients that haven't been started yet. And it will produce an email for you, which you can send directly to your client containing an email link. And this email will actually be sent from your own email address because you can connect any email provider to the Nomisma platform in order to send emails directly from it, rather than sending it from a Nomisma email address. And when your client receives that email link, then it will take them to a HTML web page where they can answer all of these questions. And these questions will be variable, so they won't have to answer them all. They'll be triggered based on answers to different questions. And once your client answers those 26 questions, then the response will come back into the system. So to give you an example, if I click send, it will move these 2 tax returns into questionnaire sent. So you can see no more and not started. As soon as the questionnaire is responded to, then it will go into response received. And then when you actually go into the tax return itself, you'll be able to download the data directly from the tax questionnaire. So if I drill down into the tax return that's in not allocated and in progress, and then I can see I've got the tax return there. I can assign it to a different member of staff, update the work status. But if we actually drill down into that name, and then in the top right-hand corner, there's actually a button to import data from the questionnaire. So I'm not entirely sure if there is any in this one. Oh, there is. So we've got bank interest. So they've confirmed that they have got bank interest from Barclays of £6,000. And you have the option of filling the tax return directly from here. So this will actually populate the tax return page, and then you can override it and edit it if you wanted to. If you decided that it was interest from an ISA that shouldn't be on a tax return, then you can remove it. But by going back to the dashboard, in addition to downloading data from the questionnaire, you can also connect directly to HMRC in order to download information from their platform. And they normally have details like employment income, as well as P11D details, pensions, annuities, and job seekers allowance and other benefits. So all of those can be downloaded into the system. And just like the import data from questionnaire feature, you can simply fill the tax return with all of the information that they have. And then we've got our work status notes and a bit of an audit trail to see when the task status was actually updated. We've got some key figures on total income, taxable income, the amount of tax due, and the payments on account. The internal notes, and then finally quick access to the different tax return forms. And you can quickly see which forms have already been filled in by viewing the green ticks. But if we drill down into the self-employment, one of the main features we've built, and this was actually long before SAMTD was announced, but natively it's ready for SAMTD, and we are going the next step in order to meet those requirements. However, you can actually link a business from a bookkeeping profile to a self-assessment profile. So if we search for a business, this one actually has no accounting year available, so I can't link that. However, if there was a business with an accounting year available, then I can seamlessly populate all of the tax return pages with that, and I can decide whether or not it should be a full form or a short form. And on this page, I can actually see that that icon there is a linked company. So that has already been linked from the bookkeeping profile. And if I wanted to view the bookkeeping profile, I can click that, which will take me directly to bookkeeping. And in addition to that, you can go in, edit it at any time, or view the details that have been included within this tax return. So you've got £3,000 worth of income, and then £58,217 worth of expenditure. Okay. In addition to being able to link trial balances from self-employments, we can also do partnerships, because we do partnership bookkeeping as well as LLP bookkeeping. And you can also link employment income to this from our payroll module. Really useful for director-only limited companies, especially if you've got dividends from bookkeeping, which can be linked, and employment income. Okay. And then in the example of rental properties, we are looking at how we can deal with those for SAMTD, so there will be a bookkeeping profile for landlords. However, in the meantime, you can manually populate the pages. If you do work in papers, you can then upload them within the document section on the left menu, and that will act as a folder, so that if you ever wanted to go back to previous years, you can always view the documents in relation to every year that's been produced. You've also got a lot of records that can be downloaded, and within the review and file section, you would then be able to submit this to HMRC. But one process that I personally really like to follow is produce the tax return, validate the submission here, just confirm that it would be submitted to HMRC, and then within the communication section, you can come up and select ESign. And this will actually send a self-assessment directly to your client to be e-signed by them. And they will be able to simply click a link in the email. It will take them directly to their tax return, directly to the signature section. They can review the tax return if they want to, or they can simply e-sign it. And as soon as they e-sign it, then you'll receive a notification via email that your client has e-signed the tax return, it's ready to be submitted. But also the work statuses I was showing you earlier, so if we go back to the dashboard, it will move from sent for approval. So once you actually send it, it will change the status to sent for approval. Once it's been approved, it will be approved. and then it will move to ready to be filed. So all of that workflow is handled for you. And the tax return itself will be stored within the documents section. So you won't have to download the tax return and then upload it here. It's all done for you. And then once you've received that, you can then progress to submit it directly to HMRC. So all of the workflow has been thought about as exactly how you produce a tax return from a practices perspective. Okay, so moving on then to the bookkeeping side of Nomisma. So let's go back, select Bookkeeping Limited, and go into Barney's Bowlerama. So I've already shown you the receipt capture process. I haven't shown you the mobile app. However, that is available on Android and Apple. And within the bookkeeping profile, you would be able to raise sales invoices just like any other bookkeeping platform. We do have a payment integration using open banking so that your clients would be able to add a pay now button to all of their sales invoices, and they can request up to £250,000 using that. And it's really simple and easy to use. It's a new technology, so it's not very known about at the moment. However, we have got YouTube video content that shows exactly how that works. Okay, and then within expenditure, very similar to the sales invoices, you can go up, you can add new supplier bills, subcontractor bills. You could also view the supplier list and view all of your process receipts if you wanted to. But the main features are all around the bank reconciliation. I know that for me, when I used to work in a bookkeeping practice, that was one of the most efficiency-rich processes within the practice. There are certain softwares that do it really well. I'm not going to name anyone. However, within Nomisma, we've been inspired by many of these processes, and you can do pretty much everything that you come to expect. However, we have combined two different ways of doing it to try and make it as efficient as possible. So to give you an example, you can increase the page, the number of transactions on a single page to 200. And then here we've got the ability to create bank rules based on descriptions or invoice numbers. And then by using those bank rules, you can begin to automate your bank reconciliation process. So you can go through, run the rules, it will go through and then allocate all of the transactions to the different nominal codes. And if you're happy with those, you can then reconcile them. It will remove them from the page. So you've basically reconciled all of the transactions that have a rule, and then any that are left won't have a rule. So you can go through and begin adding them. But in addition to the rules, we've also got suggestions. So on the right-hand side here, it's suggesting to me that this bank line matches to a sales invoice where the customer's HOMA, the invoice number is invoice 20, the date and the gross amount. And if I decided that that was correct, you would then be able to select the green tick and it will populate that line, and then it will allocate it against that sales invoice or supplier bill and mark it as paid. If you decided that that wasn't correct, then you would be able to use the magnifying glass. So here, if I just put in HOMA as the customer and then select find a match, it will then bring me a pop-up where I can select exactly which transactions that bank transaction should match to. And then at the bottom, we've got the reconcile type. So we can partial reconcile it because the bank transaction doesn't match to the selected invoices, or we can reconcile it with a journal and write off the difference to a specific account. And then that will post a journal with the difference. But it will also mark the sales invoices as paid. So all of your double entry, all of the allocations are done for you. You won't have to go through a separate process to do that. Okay. One of the main features I did actually miss out in banking is that we do have bank feeds. I covered it earlier on the agent level where you can see who has active bank feeds and who doesn't. However, we do connect to a wide range of bank accounts. So I'll just scroll through this quickly for you. But you can see we've got Monzo, Revolut. There is also Starling, Wise, and Tide here. So we can connect to a lot of the startup banks as well as many of the well-known ones. And there are more to come as well because we connect to TrueLayer who are one of the market leaders in open banking technology. So anyone that TrueLayer connects to will be able to connect to. Okay, and then moving on, final accounts. I won't show too much of that today, just because we're running out of time. However, the final accounts are linked to the bookkeeping profile. So any transactions that are book kept in banking, petty cash, sales, expenditure, anywhere else, all of the VAT transactions, they're all automatically linked to the final accounts. So if I just go down, show you a few different pages, and then income statement, all of these numbers are pulled through from bookkeeping. So I can actually drill down onto that, see all of the transactions that are populated. And then by going one step further, I can drill down into these numbers as well to see exactly what the numbers are made up of. And at this point, if I decided that this sales invoice shouldn't have been posted to flat rate saving, I could select move and then change it to a different nominal code. And in addition to being able to click on the current year figures, you can also click on the previous year figures. So this is really useful for comparative analysis when you're producing a year-end accounts and comparing it to the previous year, as well as the ability to click on the totals. And then certain notes are automatically populated, such as the average number of employees. The calculation is all done for you. So as long as you use the payroll module in Nomisma, it will be populated. However, you can enter it yourself as well. And all of these little manual processes that we're automating and trying to help you with, they all save a little bit of time, whether it's a couple of minutes, a few seconds, it all adds up over the course of a year across your entire client base. Okay, and then again, all of the numbers in the P&L can be clicked on. And then once you're happy with that, you can move on and submit that directly to Companies House. And the corporation tax return is also populated. The tax is done and calculated, and then you can submit that to HMRC. Now, in terms of the IXBRL, you don't need to worry about that because every single nominal code in the Nomisma's bookkeeping is mapped to an IXBRL ledger. So you don't have to worry about that process at all. Okay. And just to finish everything off, to give you a rounded overview of Nomisma, there are a few things I haven't shown you, such as partnership returns, VAT return. I'll just briefly show you the dashboard, the task list. So again, you can see who it's assigned to, what the work status is, any notes, and then when you submit a VAT return, the next task will be produced for you. We also do CIS for contractors, managing all of their subcontractors. But the other section I really want to show you is our payroll. Now, one of the main features in payroll is the fact that we can completely automate director-only submissions from start to finish. So at the start of each tax year, you can go in, populate how much wages should be paid to the director, say up to the national insurance threshold. That will then be populated for the whole year. You can turn automation on. So if I go to edit company, payroll details, and then payroll settings, you've got this automatic payroll here. So you can turn this on, and what this will do is it will automatically file the payroll with HMRC, and it will send any pay slips to the employer or the employees. So if I select continue here, you can then select how should the pay slips be sent. Email the main contact, email the employees, or don't send at all. So we can select email employees and then select to send an employer's summary as well to the main contact. So that will detail exactly how much tax to be paid. And then by continuing, it will turn that automated payroll on. It will post the journal to bookkeeping every week or every month, whatever frequency needs to be ran for that payroll. It will file the FPS and the EPS if needed directly to HMRC, and it will send the pay slips to the employers or the employer, whatever you selected. You can use that automated payroll for other payrolls as well. So if I go into Ash Hall here, I can see the entire pay schedule has been populated with 12.5 £1,000 every month, you can automate this. However, you would need to be on top of it every month. So if your client gives you details of annual leave or unpaid leave mid-month, then you could go in mid-month, update this, ready for the end of month when the automatic payroll run will go ahead. So it's just a case of being on top of it and ahead of time, which is a different way of working from my experience of most payroll practices. However, it can work really well, and we are seeing great success with that. And the other feature with this as well is the fact that you can give the employer access to this as well as all of their employees. So they can access the mobile application to download all of their pay slips, view all of their annual leave, and much more information. And very soon, we're actually working on this at the moment, they will also be able to submit timesheets, which will then be able to be approved by the employer, as well as annual leave requests and expense claims. And then one of the other really, really time-saving features that we have here is the fact that on the agent level for all of your payroll clients, you can go to reports, and we have what HMRC called the data provisioning service. So by selecting this, it will actually go to the HMRC website, and it will pull through all tax code notices, any student loan notices, and it will allow you then to apply them to your entire client base. So this will search all of your clients. It will go to HMRC, get all of the notices that have been sent to each of the clients, and it will store it here for your entire client base. Once you have this, you'll then be able to go through and apply it to all of your employees, rather than having to do it on a one-by-one basis or waiting to receive letters and then manually going in and updating tax codes. So this saves a significant amount of time, and there is many more time-saving features that we've built specifically for practice. If you do have any questions about what we've seen today or anything else for that matter, then feel free to put it in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we will also be in the ICB Summit room all day presenting Nomisma. So if you want to go into the system, have a deeper dive into certain features and see exactly how it works, feel free to come to the room to explore it in more detail. But in addition to that, we also offer free one-to-one demos. So you can go to the website and book a demo, or you can sign up for a free trial. And then finally, our pricing. So our pricing suits small practices, startups, all the way up to top 100 practices, which we actually have one of using Nomisma right now. So it's a price per client basis, and it's £5 per business per month. So if you have no clients, you wouldn't have to pay anything for bookkeeping and VAT. However, that bookkeeping and VAT does include accounts, corporation tax, and self-assessments. So any corporation tax accounts and self-assessments that are linked to a bookkeeping profile would be included within the package. And there's no restrictions in terms of functionality. So you're not restricted to raising 5 sales invoices and 20 bills or anything like that. You would be able to use this for an unlimited amount of transactions, and any amount of bank feeds that you like, they're all included, as well as the mobile receipt capture app. And then Payroll is actually a standalone feature. So you can use Payroll separately from bookkeeping and pay for it separately. So you wouldn't have to have a bookkeeping profile in order to use Nomisma Payroll. And then if you wanted to use Nomisma just for final accounts and self-assessments, we do offer that as well. And it would just be from £2 per submission if you were to buy in bulk, or £5 per submission on a pay-as-you-go basis. So it really does suit all levels of practices of all sizes, and we've adopted a pay-as-you-grow business model. And then on the CRM and practice management, which is completely optional, most of the practice management features are included within all packages. However, the CRM pages I showed you at the start, these, so the lead, quote, onboarding, clients, etc., is £29 per user per month. Okay, so I hope you found this session useful. If you do have any questions, feel free to go ahead. If not, we'll end it here. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of the summit and have a fantastic day over the next few days. Thank you, everyone.